How would you remove the support inside here with this little hole? That did not came out right. Hello, welcome to Scratch 3D Printing. This video, I'll be showcasing OrcaSlicer's new feature called Bridge Counterbole Hole. The name sounds amazing. I'll first talk about what that is, then I'll show you the setting in OrcaSlicer, how each of the models that I'm going to be showing you after that was printed. Then I'll be showing you the models that I have printed, and the result is amazing. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't yet, make sure you click the subscribe button down below, because more amazing videos like this is coming very soon, and I have a huge project coming. So if you want to stay up to date, click the subscribe button, and let's get to that 1000 mark so that I can do more crazy stuff in this channel. Let's get to this topic. So there's basically two of these types. One is called the counterbole and one is called the countersink hole. They are very similar, but we're just going to focus on the counterbole hole because that's what OrcaSlicer has, and I believe it can be used for the other one too. So what is a counterbole hole? So if you imagine a flat surface like this, but you want to put a screw through it, you don't want the screw to sit on top of the items, something like that. Let's take this for the example. You don't want a screw like this to sit on top of the 3D printed part like this, because that is very bad. That's when a counterbole hole comes in. It's going to provide a hole for the screw to sit in so that it's going to sit flush with your printed parts or anything that you are working on. Let's say for a desktop table like this, you wouldn't want a screw to be poking up. That is very bad. When you move your mouse, you're gonna get scratched. So that's when a counterbole hole comes in. We will take a look at that right now. Okay, so if we look at these three parts that I have modeled in Fusion 360, if we go in here, we look at the layer line. Let's go up. You can see that at this point right here, that's where the overhang is, and that is where the counterbole hole is sitting at. This is overhang at 90 degrees angle, and it's very difficult to print these stuff like this. So if we look at from the top here, and let's go layer by layer, it's gonna start printing right in the middle right there, and that, where's that gonna sit? Well, it's just gonna drop. It doesn't have anything to support it from the bottom. It's gonna print very badly. There's overhang at the bottom here. So how does this feature fix it? Well, let's go over here. Let's go into object, so that we can edit each of the one individually. We're gonna be selecting the one in the middle. Let's go to quality, scroll all the way down until you see this bridge counterbole hole. So let's select this, partially bridged, and let's do that for the third one. But for this one, we're gonna be selecting this sacrificial layer or a sacrifice layer. Now let's take a look at the model again. If we look from the top on the middle one, you will see that at this layer right here, it's different from this one, right? So this one, it starts on the middle and then it goes to the outside. The middle one, it bridge on both sides of the 3D printed parts like this. And then it's gonna do the next layer, which is gonna be the circle that I have modeled. Well, that is good, but as you can see on the next layer, it starts printing the circle in the middle again. And at this point it's good, but as it goes here, yeah, it's gonna sag down and your print is not gonna look clean. For the last one, which is the sacrifice layer, if we go back down and look at this, it's gonna print a sacrifice layer for the whole thing. If we look at this, it's gonna print from the left go to the right like this. Is this beneficial? Well, yes. I will show you the 3D model after I go through this part. If we go to the next layer, it's gonna do this, right? But it has a layer there to support the hole that we are trying to 3D model or 3D print in this case. That is the difference between the three of the bridge counterbole hole. Now you might be wondering, why would I print or orientate these like this when I could have done it like this, do it without any overhang or any bridging? Well, yeah, that is good, but what if you have a part like this, right, where at the top it has the counterbole hole, and at the bottom it also has a counterbole hole? How would you 3D print this part? You may print on the side, but it's gonna have a defect on the side. You're gonna have to do some support and stuff like that. I'm gonna show you the result for this one. It's very interesting. Let me know in the comments down below how this part was 3D printed. I would like to see your answer. Before I show you the parts, you might say that, oh, you can just use supports instead of that. Well, I'm gonna generate support right now. If we look at the bottom, it has supports at the bottom, right? But if we scroll down through the layers, look at this. Yeah, it's gonna support the bottom portion. It's gonna look really good. The bottom portion is easy to remove the support. But what happened when you get to the other counterbole hole? Look at this. The tree on the outside builds into the hole right here, and it goes inside here. The supports in the middle is gonna build from the bottom, and it's gonna go into the second hole up here. How would you remove the support inside here with this little hole? That did not came out right. But yeah, how would you remove that? You can't, because the support is way bigger than the hole. So I'm going to show you the parts right now. Okay, as you saw in OrcaSlicer, that is how the Counterbole Hole feature works in OrcaSlicer. But here are the results of the 3D printed part. This one is printed without anything, without the feature, and that is how the middle looks like. Look at that. It looks so bad, right? Yeah, it looks really bad. Yeah, you can almost see at this portion right over here. I keep dropping stuff. You can see at the top portion right here, essentially you can't actually see the infield of it. That's how the normal printed part looks like. The second one here is the one with partially bridge. So as you can see here, on the top and the bottom, it has the bridging and it looks kinda okay-ish, but still in the middle, it looks really bad. And are you ready for this? Kaboom! Look at that. That is with the sacrificial layer for the Counterbole Hole. And this is exactly what a Counterbole Hole will be looking like. This is just over exaggerating for a Counterbole Hole because it usually would not be this big. It usually would just be like a M3, M4, M5 or however big your screw the head is. But this is just an oversized exaggeration of that. And look at this. It just prints so well. Look at that. This is 90-degree overhang and it just prints perfectly. So essentially the layer after this sacrificial layer is basically printing on the surface. So the next layer of this is really good. Well, some of you might say that, yeah, if you're going to use a screw, there's plastic there. How would you get rid of this? Well, this is just, my nail just kind of ruined it right there. You can just basically get rid of it. It's just one teeny tiny layer. Can't believe I have a screw right here. And so if you're going to do this, right, you just put a screw through here. And kaboom, that's it. That's how a screw sits in a Counterbore Hole, but not this big. It usually just fit the head. Well, you might say that, well, you can do that for the other parts too. Yeah, but it just looks so bad, and it doesn't fill the gap, so it just looks really bad. Then you might say, why did I print like this instead of like this, so that it does not have any overhang? Well, what if you have a part like this, how I show you on OrcaSlicer, where you have a Counterbole Hole at the top and you have a Counterbole Hole at the bottom. Crazy, right? And in the middle is hollow like this. So how would you do that? If you do supports, you can't get support out of this teeny tiny hole. It's just gonna be a pain getting the supports out, and that's where the Counterbole Hole comes in. Look at this. The first Counterbole Hole printed really nicely, and if you can see through that hole right there in the inside, it basically prints as nice as the bottom layer without any supports. That is very freaking amazing. And if you print support, you can't put anything inside this hole anymore because the support is inside there. This bridge Counterbole Hole is very amazing. I never even thought about printing stuff like this. Overhang without supports ever. Oh, and by the way, OrcaSlicer did not come up with this feature. This feature was taken from OrcaSlicer, and I think it might be taken from some other places too. So they're just taking features and putting it throughout all the slicers so that we will have the benefit of using them. So yeah, that's a 10mm hole. Can I do something bigger? Yes, I did. I made this 100mm. On the inside, it's 80mm. I should have done like a 20mm hole in the middle so that it has more overhang to print on. This part is printed with no supports at all. Usually you can never print stuff like this without support. The bottom portion here is just gonna sag pretty much like this, and then you're gonna have a failed print. But now for this Counterbole Hole feature, you can print stuff like this. This is like a super exaggeration of Counterbole Hole. And yeah, it printed so nicely. This is the bottom layer, so it printed like this. So after it prints the outer wall, it prints this, and then it prints this part. And you can never achieve this without using support, or achieve the bottom portion of this without using support. But for this feature, it actually worked, and I'm just so impressed with this. Yeah, we can just push this thing out like this and just break it apart very easily, and this part is 100% usable because of this sacrificial layer, and we can just get rid of this layer like this, and then we can just use this for whatever applications you are trying to do in your 3D printing project. Break it apart and then trim it out. It's very easy, so much easier than all the way supports here. And yeah, like this part, if you have support in the middle, you can't get rid of it, but this, you can just poke a hole right through it, and these will just basically be there, and it's not that much of a distraction, to be honest. You can just really easily get rid of this, and you will still have a really nice layer right there. I can't believe such a feature exists, and we now just got into OrcaSlicer, or I just now figured this out, that you can print something like this without any supports but with a sacrificial layer, and this reduce the cost of the material by a significant amount. But yeah, that's pretty much it with all the examples or other models I have with this new feature in OrcaSlicer called the Bridge Counterbole Hole. And yeah, it printed stuff like this. The most impressive part is this piece, printed with no supports on both ends and just print flawlessly. Oh my gosh. If you want to see more videos like this, and I know you do, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because amazing content like this is coming all the time, and you wouldn't want to miss content like this. I wouldn't. But that is it with this video. Thank you so much for watching, and Counterbore hosting is amazing. At first I thought this feature was just like, nah, it's just average, but now I can see that this feature is amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep on 3D printing. And thank you to all my Patreon members for supporting this channel.